All right. Hello and welcome to our weekly Tuesday discussion. Today with Jona Christians from SONO Motors. My name is Gesa Lüdecke and I'm the Director of Graduate Programs here at the Jona Christians Center in Munich. And together with Christoph Mauch, who is somewhere among us, the Director of the Jona Christians Center, I am moderating the Tuesday discussion during the semester, and we're alternating. Today, it's my turn. It's my pleasure, actually, because I am really extremely excited that we could win Jona Christians for today's session. He is the CEO and co-founder of SONO Motors. And SONO Motors, as we will hear shortly, is a rapidly growing solar car company based here in Munich. And you can actually say that it's on the trajectory to revolutionize the entire automobile industry, so to say. The heads of SONO Motors are Jona and Laurin Hahn. They've been friends since school, so they've known each other for quite a while now. And pretty soon, Laurin's roommate, Navina Pernsteiner, joined the team as a communication expert. And as far as I know, the entire project of SONO Motors started off with a phone call in which Laurin and Jona discussed the wastefulness of oil consumption. And they came to the conclusion that we need to stop wasting our planet's resources and that we need to reduce our CO2 emissions drastically. And this was the initial spark for SONO Motors, simple as that. And what I just learned is that both are neither engineers nor business economists by training. They just followed their instincts and started working on cars and solar cars right after finishing school. And they were basically led by their curiosity, and they proved to be successful with this strategy because today SONO Motors has more than 100 employees and is planning to go public. The goal of SONO Motors is to facilitate sustainable mobility for everyone. And until today, they have thousands of reservations on the SION or SION. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. We'll learn about that in a minute, which is their prototype car that is going into production next year. And they've started a crowdfunding campaign on the car, including the reservations, and collected over 15 million euros by early 2020. I think it was something like 53 million euros, an enormous amount of money. And in an interview with Klimareporter, Jona said that, I quote, that we cannot continue to produce 100 million vehicles every year, even if they're all going to be electric cars one day. We don't see it as our task to sell as many vehicles as possible, but to offer a system that gets you from A to B using the most resource-efficient means of transport. And we're really keen to hear about what this means and how it looks and how three young people moved from a backyard workshop in 2013 to the big stage of the sustainable car industry. So again, we're really happy to have SONO Motors with us here today. And everyone, please join me in welcoming Jona.
Thank you very much, Gesa. It's a pleasure to be here. And first off, I start with something very personal. My old neighbor is in this call too. Hi, Felix. And this is really by chance something, destiny has always something in a card in their sleeve, because we met in 2013 when we really started with the first prototype in the garage. And that's exactly where we met, where we lived together side by side as neighbors. Quite funny. So let's get into it. Lauren and me, we're not the car guys, and we were not about startups at all when we started the project. We thought about climate change, and we thought about our oil consumption, crude oil consumption. And why was that so critical? Climate change, I think it's clear for everyone. Back then, in 2012, it was not that big. I remember seeing a newsletter page, and I was like wondering, why are people not totally freaking out about it? But the other side is our dependency on crude oil is what also triggered us, because we thought it's so important for our society. Our whole society depends on it. Not just mobility, it's in the whole medicine sector. For everything you see, your laptop with which you're watching right now, this presentation has a lot of crude oil parts in it, plastic parts in it. And all that would not be possible. So our whole society depends on it. And that's why we saw as a vision where we want to go, a world without fossil fuels. That's what drives us forward. That's what we're doing every day. We want a world without fossil fuels. And we think it's possible. And why we think that is because we see in mobility, we have 6% of the emissions are happening in the transport sector. And that's why we see that we want to tackle that first. And we have 3 hurdles to overcome: price, range, and infrastructure, poor infrastructure. And these were the hurdles that we saw. And we thought, like, people, we have the deep belief people want to be part of the change. Nobody wants to ruin their own basis of living. Nobody wants to do that. So we want to give something on people's hands to see that is something where I can be part of the change. And so what we have developed then is an affordable vehicle, family-sized, and at the same time, we are totally committed to make it the first sustainable SEV. SEV is short for solar electric vehicle, which brings me to the next point, is that the SION is a normal looking car, you might say, and it is electric, of course. And it's affordable with 25,500 and in Germany. The net price is then 21,000 euro. It's affordable. But what's special about it is the solar integration. So the whole car body has solar cells integrated, which enables us to bring up to 245 kilometers per week into the battery, or on average is 112 kilometers. So you can calculate throughout the year with an average of 112 kilometers. But what Gesa already gave a teaser for, what is really important to us is like the efficiency. How much is the car used? We want to make sure our car is not used 5% of the time. In average, 95% of the time, cars are just standing around, and we want to change that. And that's why we integrated sharing in every SION out there. Every SION is sold with a package, with an app to be shared. And matter of fact, is over 13,000 people already reserved the SION by today with an average of 3,000 euro as a down payment. And they are what we call our community. These are the people that made it possible to come to the point we are today. And Gesa already said it. We had lots of difficult times in the past. Once we were so close to the end, and it was a community with which we could come back. So one important point is how effective is the solar integration? And for that, this chart is very helpful. What you see here is on the first line, you see the SION. On the second line, you see a comparable other vehicle. How is it comparable? It has the same battery size and it drives the same distance as the SION. And still what you see here with the SION, you have over 1,000 kilometers, you only need to charge once. With a second vehicle, you have to charge 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So 4 times charging compared to 1 time charging. And when you see that is what gives the SION the effectiveness for the daily commute. It makes it so easy to use in your daily commute or wherever you go, because you have free energy, 112 kilometers per week by the sun. And when you calculate that, and you would calculate, okay, with that same distance, what kind of battery size would I need if I wouldn't have the solar integration? It's 180 kilowatt hours of a battery size. That's huge. No car has it at the moment. And that's why it's so convenient and so made for the daily driving patterns. Next up, a little bit of detail towards how do we see the sharing part of this SION be made. First off, every SION is shipped with an app with which you control the SION, whatever it is, let it be climate, open, close it, open the charging lid and so forth. That is like convenient for the owner. However, the next thing is car sharing. So what we have is you can share your SION with one click of a button. And you might be at work from 9 to 5, whatever it is, and you can, with one click of the button, share your SION. Next up is ride pooling. We want to also make sure that when the car is driving, it is used as much as possible. And as the fourth option, that is something that's totally new, and that is power sharing. So what we have in the SION is a bidirectional charging system with which you can give power to other vehicles, to the home and to the grid. And by that feature, we make sure the SION is used as much as possible. This can only happen because a lot of people are working at SONO. By now, we are 200 people. We have grown massively. Yes, you named the 100 people, Gesa. We doubled in size in the last 6 months, which is incredible. And also, at some point, to speak personally, also challenging, very challenging, because there are so many new faces every week. But we need it. We need it because we have joined the automotive industry with the solar industry, and that is the melting point for us, where we grow in innovation. And for that, we need that great team to have the car and the solar integration as a technology. In the whole timeline, we started 2012 with the first idea and with the first phone call. Built then the garage as a neighbor of Felix. And we're just 3 people. So Navina, Lauren, and me. And next up, we then founded a small team. We're 20 people in 2017, presented our first prototypes. Then we also announced our contract manufacturer, which is NEFS. And in 2019, finally, we came closer to the manufacturing engineering and grew our team. So now where we at, we presented our next generation of prototypes. And we are close to the finalization to the 3rd generation. And that means where every part is fixed and that enters production, and you then produce that car, which is then happening in the first half of 2023. One word to that, what we see is we do not only want to look at the car and make it sustainable, but also at the production side. So what you see here is a picture of the manufacturing side at NEFS. It's in Sweden, Trollhättan. It's the former Saab factory. And it's great because once we don't build our own factory from greenfield, we keep what is existing out there, and we can get rid of all the press tools, and we also can get rid of the paint shop, which are 2 main contributors to emissions at the production. So it saves us also a lot of cost and emissions there. Last up, this is what we share on our website. This is our engineering plan. Of course, it can also be much more detailed, but why I'm showing it to you is maybe some of you are interested in details. That's one reason, but the second reason is even more important. What we live, our values are also driven to transparency. So while we're opening up so much with our prototypes, with test drives with our prototypes, from the very, very early stage on, we share all the data regarding our engineering on the website because we have nothing to hide. And that's why we are working so close also with the community. It's great to have a community who decides on major things of the car because they are so involved, and they're also so involved in terms of where we stand and what goes well and what goes sometimes not so well. But it's all part of the story. And that's why it's so important for us to open up. So with that said, these were some introduction slides, and I heard from Gesa now are the questions coming, which I'm really looking forward.
Thank you so much, Jona. This was a really insightful presentation and also a bit mind-blowing, I would say.